Well, it's good to be here. I know you folks do a lot of thankless work, and I'm really reverent and honored to be part of such a group today and share a message with you. I'm going to start this talk by bringing you back to 1992, where finally, after 5 long years and including lots of summer school, I earned my diploma from the University of North Carolina. Now, when I stood up there and got my diploma, I'm looking at the chancellor, I'm looking at my diploma, and 5 years of my life kind of flash in front of my eyes, and I'm standing there thinking to myself, now what? Here I've got this diploma, I'm out of school, what will become of my life? You see, up until that point, I was convinced that I was destined for a career as a professional football player. This is what I looked like in college. What I didn't know at the time that picture was taken was this was the very moment that my football career ended. This was the last game I had ever played in. And unfortunately for me, the NFL never came calling. So here I am, I'm 6'2", about 290 pounds, and my skill set consists of little more than my ability to read a linebacker blitz. But this is me. And so now I'm faced with going out into the world and making a career of myself. So I ended up getting my first job selling telephone equipment and voicemail, which for me was a really neat first job because it put me in the community, networking with people, going to chamber events, getting very active in the greater Charlotte business community. And I actually turned out to be pretty good at it right from the beginning. But what made things pretty interesting at that time in my life is now I'm a salesman, but I still look like a football player. And when you weigh 280 pounds and you're the size I was at the time and you have literally no money, it's hard to shop for clothes. So a couple times a year I'd get in the car, I'd drive down to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I found my way to a place called Joe Sugar's Big and Tall Men's Shop. Okay, this isn't exactly Nordstrom's, ladies. So I'd go down to Joe Sugar's, Joe and his son would meet me at the door, they'd be all fired up to see me there, and they dressed me up in these duds that they had convinced me looked great, but in retrospect I realized I was really sporting some pretty funny looking outfits back in the day. And what made things even more interesting is underneath this ensemble I would actually wear garters, okay? Now this is a picture off the internet, this isn't really me, but can you imagine 6'2", 280, out there selling phone systems, hot days in Charlotte, I'm sweating, I'm rocking the Joe Sugar's clothes, I got the garters on, okay? You with me? So every so often I'd be charging in to close a sale, and at the most inopportune times, one of those garters would snap off and scare the heck out of me. It'd throw me off my game, my clients didn't know what was going on. Well, after a couple dozen garter snaps, I decided to take stock of my life and what it was that I was doing. And it really became evident right away. Two things became quite evident. One, lose the garters. And I'm happy to report that for the last 23 years I've managed to keep my shirt tucked in without it. But what also became pretty evident to me at the time was that when I was out making sales calls, my success rate and my ability to be effective had far less to do with any sort of salesmanship, and it had more to do with my internal attitude. Yeah, I started taking notes after sales calls, and the ones that went well, I realized that I felt good going into the calls. I felt good about myself. I felt positive. And the calls that didn't go so well really had less to do with the product I was selling and more to do with my own internal feelings. And as I really started to reflect on what was successful and what wasn't successful, I quickly realized that the infrastructure I had around me as a football player really fostered a positive attitude. You've got coaches keeping you in line, you've got teammates surrounding you to keep you positive. College athletics really provides you with a system to keep motivated and positive and on the right track. But here I am, I'm out in the real world, and now I'm by myself. And I want to be successful, and now I realize that my success hinges on my attitude, and it was at that moment that I dedicated my life to being a student of personal development. I decided at that moment forward, I was going to do everything I could to be happy and motivated and a positive person. I realized when I sell good, I feel good. It was the same like in sports. You know, my best workouts came when I was positive about what I was doing. And so I became a student of personal development. I started working on my attitude. First thing I did is I got a CD written by the late, great Earl Nightingale called The Strangest Secret. And I've listened to this audio CD literally thousands and thousands of times over. And the message I got from really the grandfather of personal development was, you become what you think about. And so for the last 23 years, I've educated myself in my car. My kids will tell you when they get in the car, Daddy, we want to listen to the radio, get your motivational CDs off. But that's part of the thing that fuels me, is to continue to feed my mind with positive ideas and positive messages. And so what I want to share with you in our brief time today is some of the things I've taken from the world of sports and tried to integrate into my life as a businessman, as a father, as a civic member of the community. And hopefully you folks can get some ideas that you can begin to weave into your own life. So, first thing that I've learned, and this really came from my time as an athlete, was surrounding yourself with a positive team. Putting winners and positive people that are supportive of the things that are important to you, put those people around you. And so I've worked hard to do that. You can really see it now with our Carolina Panthers. These guys seem like a collegiate group of guys that like each other and care about each other. And when you see Cam Newton and Kuechly and all these guys coming together, it's evident that that team is rising beyond their actual abilities, but they've come together as a team. And you can see that there's a real family and supportive environment. And that's what I like to do. This is a tailgate of me and some of my buddies that I hadn't played with these guys in 25 years. But this was before the ACC championship game in December in Charlotte. And the relationships that I had way back then are still a big part of the foundation of friendships I have today. But the thing I've learned here in recent years, and I think this will resonate with all of you, is Facebook friendships are worthless and meaningful relationships are priceless. So you've got to really engage with people, especially the younger generation who are so engaged with their phone and social media. You've got to kind of fight that urge to be buried in your phone, and you've got to go back to the basics of really involving yourself with people and caring about people and making what's important to others important to you. I tell my kids all the time, the best way to have a friend is to be a friend. So invest in those meaningful relationships. The other thing I try and do is I try to surround myself with things that make me feel good, things that reflect on my goals, or things that bring me back to a point in my life where I was happy and motivated and I can reflect on those good times. So I'm very mindful of my surroundings. Much like I like to imbue myself with positive messages in my car, I'm very mindful of the environment around me. This is a picture of the Notre Dame locker room. This is one of the more famous locker rooms where they have this thing at Notre Dame football where before they go out on the practice field or game field, they hit a sign that says, "Play like a champion today." And so from sports, you see a lot of visual messages. This is a picture of the University of North Carolina football locker room, where their current coach has this idea of smart, fast, and physical. And so you can see in the team room, he's got those visual cues. He's putting out in front of his players the things that are important and the mantra that he wants them to believe in. And I try and do that in my own life. Here's a picture of my home office. So I look out and I see pictures of my family and friends, awards from past accomplishments, books I've read that have been meaningful to me. And so I try and put those things around me. In my real estate office, I now have posted in front of me, and this is kind of my mission statement for 2016, is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. For me, I'm blessed with a lot of wonderful opportunities, so for me, focus is very important. And so my goal for 2016 was to really be very mindful of where I was spending my time. So I put that message right front and center so I know where my focus needs to be on any given day. The third thing that has really meant a lot to me is trying to learn from observation. One thing you'll find as an athlete is athletes, football players in particular, watch a lot of game film. They watch film of themselves, they watch film of the people they're getting ready to play, they watch old games. It's a constant learning lessons from others and trying to gain wisdom and knowledge from outside of yourself. Sort of this idea of being a lifetime learner and learning through others. But sports gives us so many opportunities to observe and learn. One of my most favorite athletes in Charlotte history is Muggsy Bogues. And what I love about Muggsy Bogues, and I think he doesn't get enough credit, is Muggsy's 5'3". I mean, he's short by just everyday standards. Look, here he is going up against Michael Jordan. This is a tremendous picture. And it wasn't like Muggsy was some circus act and barely got off the bench. Muggsy Bogues was a guy that started for 13 seasons in the NBA. I mean, this guy really had something to offer, and he was 5'3". 5'3". There he is amongst his teammates, and even amongst guys twice his size, he was a giant, and he was a leader of men. And so what Muggsy taught me is to dream big, and don't let others define your goals. I mean, can you imagine Muggsy as a junior high kid telling his parents and his friends he wanted to one day be an NBA player? But he dreamed big, and he didn't let anything stop him. And so I always say to myself, if Muggsy Bogues could be a successful NBA player at 5'3", what's holding me back from accomplishing anything I might want to accomplish as a professional businessman? This is Kerry Collins. Anybody remember Kerry Collins? You know, before Cam Newton, there was Jake Delhomme, and before Jake Delhomme, there was this guy, Kerry Collins. He was the first draft pick of the first Panthers team. And if you remember Kerry Collins, and if you've been around the Panthers as long as I've been following them, Kerry Collins was supposed to be a star, but ultimately Kerry Collins got himself in some trouble. This is the infamous mugshot of Kerry Collins that ran all over the country. Kerry Collins was kicked off this team mid-season, run out of town. Anybody know what Kerry Collins made of himself? Anybody know his story or his history? Well, what I really admire about Kerry Collins is Kerry Collins went on to have an incredible career in the NFL, setting all sorts of records for passing yards and completions, and ultimately, as part of the New York Giants, was part of a Super Bowl team. So he leaves Charlotte a bum, remakes himself, gets his life back on track as both a human being and as an athlete, and ultimately leads his team to a Super Bowl. And so from Kerry Collins, I learned, you got to learn from your mistakes. You know, the ultimate outcome really depends on how you handle adversity and how you bounce back when things go wrong. So I really took a lot from Kerry Collins and following his career. Dale Earnhardt, the late great Dale Earnhardt, number 3. Simple message there. Life is short, enjoy the ride. If you grew up in NASCAR country, there's a lot to be learned from some of these drivers. How about Thomas Davis? People are pretty fired up about Thomas Davis. Great guy, great man in the community. But what a lot of people don't realize outside of his community service is this guy has come back from 3 serious knee injuries. He's the first NFL player in history to have 3 surgeries like he has on the same knee. He broke his arm in the last game. And I can tell you, when we tune in Sunday, he's going to be out there. And so from Thomas Davis, I've learned, don't let setbacks stop you from achieving your dreams. We all face setbacks. This guy's bounced back from a lot of hardships and has gone on to do great things both on and off the field. How about Cam? Is this guy not the greatest thing going? People love Cam Newton. The media loves him. His teammates love him. The endorsers love him. There's Cam. He's dabbing. Everybody's loving the dab because of Cam. He's jumping and high-fiving with his teammates. And the obvious lesson that I've learned from Cam is that enthusiasm is contagious. Cam is getting the most out of his teammates because of his attitude and how he resonates with so much enthusiasm and positivity, and you can see it in how he rubs off on his teammates. And then how about keep pounding? Isn't that a great slogan? Find your mantra or mission statement. When you have one, it's easy to keep your focus, and this keep pounding message that the Panthers has is very powerful. So I challenge all of you to find your own mission statement. How about Luke Kuechly? There's a lot of lessons I could use for Luke Kuechly, but the real reason I put this slide up is when you're told by, when I was told by Lisa that I'm going to be speaking to a room of mostly women, it's just a no-brainer you put up a picture of Luke Kuechly. So, ladies, Luke Kuechly. No further message needed on that one, right? The fourth thing that has been incredibly meaningful to me and is one of the main things that keeps me on track during tough times is I've learned to push down the threshold for gratitude. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean, push down the threshold for gratitude? Well, for me, that means recognizing the benevolence and the goodness of even the small things in life that can make me happy. It means recognizing when a song comes on the radio that I like to turn it up and smile, or when an old friend calls, to appreciate that phone call. Just taking time in life to recognize the small, simple things that are important. And what's really driven that home, and this has come in a lot of my studies of various religions and cultures, but there's a lot of religions in which after you go to the bathroom, there's a prayer you say to basically thanking the good Lord that your plumbing works. And so that's right, I'm standing up here and I'll be the guy that you can remember that says he prays when he pees. I'm happy to be that guy. But I would challenge all of you to lower that wall of resistance and to recognize even the small things in life have great meaning. I tell you, if you drink a lot of water like I do and you're in and out of the bathroom and you're praying, you're giving gratitude, you can begin to start weaving these little gems of gratitude and happiness throughout your day. So I would challenge you to lower the wall, or lower the threshold for the things you're grateful for, and find pleasures in the small things in life. So let's have a little attitude litmus test right here. I've thrown a few things at you. Let's kind of see how you folks are doing. How grateful are you for your job? You great? That's good. And I'd say given the work that you folks do, I'm sure the people you work with are grateful for you also. So it's very symbiotic. How about this guy? That's a tough job. So when you weigh what this guy's doing versus what some other people do, better to be a salesman or a social worker than to be shot at for a living. Or how about this lady? Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures. Or how about armpit sniffer? Anybody want to sign up for that job? So be grateful for your job. How grateful are you for where you live? Hey, we're in the Carolinas. I think we can all agree that the Carolinas are the land of milk and honey. The whole world is coming to the Carolinas, and we're in a great place. So I am very appreciative and have great reverence and feel very happy and pleased to have found my way to North Carolina. Other people live in war-torn places. They live in places that have been ravaged by hurricanes and natural disasters. Homeless people. There's a lot of sad tales out there. So be grateful for where you live. We all live in a wonderful place. How grateful are you for your gifts? You know, I talk about the ability to use the bathroom. You know, talk to somebody on a dialysis machine and ask them how grateful they would be if they could just use the bathroom normally again. So be grateful for your gifts. This is Kyle Maynard. Anybody heard of Kyle Maynard, seen him on ESPN? I had the pleasure of meeting Kyle Maynard at an event in Charlotte a couple years ago. Born with no arms, no legs, but Kyle went on, he was a college wrestler at Georgia. He went on to be an MMA fighter. He's the first person without any arms or legs to climb Mount Kilimanjaro without any prosthetics. Kyle Maynard climbing Mount Kilimanjaro on his hands or his nubs and his nub feet. Climbed it like a dog, but he wasn't going to be stopped. There he is at the top. And I just think there's so many lessons to be learned from somebody like that who recognizes the gift he has and doesn't let anything stand in his way. Here he is, he's built up his body. That first picture when I had my arm around him, I mean, I felt like I was in the presence of a powerful man. Strong shoulders, well-built guy. He's put the effort in to get the most out of who he is and the most of his God-given gifts. So I've really enjoyed meeting Kyle, and it really, again, emphasizes to me how important I feel and how blessed I feel for the gifts I have. I say Kyle's made it to the top of the mountain with the gifts he's been given and the hand he was dealt. Question is, can you? That's my attitude litmus test. The last point I want to make, and this is really, for me, the most important point. It's the one that ties everything together, and that's talking about values. You know, a lot of us hear the word values, and values today can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But to me, values are really what it's all about. You know, to me, I value life, and I believe in a God that wants all of us to enjoy life, to be happy with our life, that we've all been given the God-given blessing to enjoy ourselves. I mean, just look at the human body, the sense of smell, the sense of touch, the sense of taste and feel. If human beings aren't pleasure-seeking machines, then what are we? I mean, God has put us on this earth for pleasure. And by having that value set, by believing in a value set that says, I'm supposed to enjoy life, I'm supposed to be happy, what it means is I don't let myself be a victim. See, the problem is when you act like a victim, you don't have any responsibility or accountability for your actions. You know, we've all been around people that have had that victim mindset, and victims like to complain and condemn and not take responsibility for themselves. But if you believe that God has a plan for everybody, then you start looking at the obstacles and challenges in your life a little bit differently. You start looking at those obstacles and challenges as a gift from God and an opportunity to improve yourself, to become all that you can be through the challenges in life that you're faced with. So to me, developing a value system is incredibly important, and surrounding yourselves with people, and be it clergy or peer groups or whatever it is, to keep you positive and to keep you on track with your value system, it's really imperative that you do so. Without a set of values, it's easy to get caught up into all the negativity that life brings you. We all deal with setbacks on a daily basis, everything from traffic jams to sick kids to more bills than you've got money to pay, all those things, and of course some of the very serious matters that you folks deal with. But we all have an opportunity, and we all have a loving Father in heaven that wants us to be happy. In some cases, those obstacles may take great work to overcome. It may take years of counseling and therapy and things. So I'm not suggesting it's easy for everybody to overcome some very dire situations and to overcome some very large obstacles. But my value system is one that believes in God and has me believing that I'm supposed to be happy. It's my God-given right, and it's my responsibility to seek pleasure and happiness. And so like the rest of us in this room, I deal with life's challenges and setbacks all the time, but I've tried to do some of the things I shared with you today to put myself in a situation to be the happiest I can be, to be the best businessman, the best father, the best spouse, the best community member, to be all those things by developing an attitude of reverence and appreciation for what I have. And so that's what I try to do in my life. And that's a lot of the lessons that I've learned in sports and in business and in parenting and in marriage and all the things that life has brought me. So in God we trust. You know, I would urge all of you, when times are tough, get your nose out of your phone and look right to the change or the dollar bills in your wallet. The messages are right there in front of us. It's up to us to use those positive messages to fuel our lives and to use it to overcome the obstacles that all of us will inevitably face. I want to close with a quote. Some of you may have heard this before. This was made famous by Nelson Mandela many years ago in his inauguration speech, but it's from a book by Marianne Williamson called Return to Love, and it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. Excuse me, it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we subconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So what I want for all of you is to go out into the world and be a bright, big, shining light, to be grateful for the things you have, and to understand that you're meant to be happy, you're meant to have pleasure, you deserve it. Take the obstacles that come your way and use them as lessons and opportunities to shape yourself and grow. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you, and I wish all of you the best of luck. Thank you.